She ran until the veil tore free like a flag surrendering to wind, white fabric whipping across the two-lane road, while the desert swallowed the sound of church bells behind her. Asphalt burned through thin soles. The dress, heavy with other people's expectations, caught on a mile marker and ripped straight up the seam. June Marlowe did not look back. Looking back was how you got caught by a life that smiled for photographs and strangled between them. Ahead waited the county line, a rusted sign promising nothing but distance. Distance was enough. A dust trail rose on the horizon. A pickup. Not family, not the groom. Someone more efficient. She knew the type by the steadiness of the engine and the patience of the approach. Men who hunted for a living did not hurry. They waited for your fear to do the work. The truck rolled to a stop 10 yards ahead, angled just enough to close the space without touching it. The driver stepped out, boots first, then a shadow cut from late light. No badge, no gun at the hip. Just a man who wore stillness the way other men wore arrogance. He took off his cap, revealed a face that belonged to a town that forgot him, and hands that remembered every job they ever did. "June," he said, as if the name might shatter if spoken wrong. "My name is Cole Bennett. I am here to take you home." She laughed, raw and salt and sunburned. "Home is where I stopped breathing." He glanced at the torn hem, the scraped knees, the bouquet still wired to her wrist like a restraint disguised as romance. He did not reach for her. He did not sell mercy. He offered water from a dented canteen and a shade line cast by the truck. "You are paid by the mile?" she asked. "I am paid to deliver," he said. "Then I am the first package that refuses," she answered, stepping into the shadow but not into his reach, choosing cool air without ceding ground, the road stretching on like a sentence she intended to finish in her own voice. She did not run because she was afraid of marriage. She ran because she was disappearing inside it. Hit like, subscribe, and comment the city and state you're watching from. Now we begin. Her name was June Marlowe, 27, raised on rules stitched tighter than her wedding dress seams. The kind of girl trained to smile before she could speak, to thank before she could think, to say yes before her heart even had time to vote. She was not poor, she was not helpless, she was just unheard, so long ignored that silence had begun to feel like a personality. On paper, she was perfect. Educated, graceful, obedient, crafted into a bride by a family who polished daughters like silverware to impress the next dinner guest. The man paid to return her was Cole Bennett, 34, ex-military turned retrieval specialist, which was the polite way of saying he brought back whatever the rich lost. Heirs, property, reputations, runaway brides. He had a record not written on paper, but in scars, debts, and hotel rooms with no photos on the walls. Cole didn't believe in rescue. He believed in delivery. You point him at a target, he brings it back breathing. They met in the heat of the highway, neither one willing to be what the world assumed. June was not weak. Cole was not heartless. But both were trapped in roles assigned by people who liked their characters predictable. The deal was simple. He gets paid when she steps back into the life she escaped. The truth was simpler. She would rather bleed than go back. And in that collision, duty versus will, begins the part of the story where two people built for obedience learn the cost of choosing themselves. Cole didn't cuff her, not because he trusted her, but because he respected the kind of desperation that rips a bride out of her own wedding. He'd seen runaways before, drug debts, custody battles, cult breakouts, but there was something different in the way June stood, dress ripped, bouquet still tied to her wrist like a shackle dressed in roses. She didn't look hunted. She looked done. He handed her the canteen. She didn't thank him. She drank like someone who hadn't been offered water in days, not because she was lost in the desert, but because she was lost in a life where every sip came with conditions. "You got a plan?" Cole asked. "Plans are for people who still own their future," she said. He tilted his head. "So you're improvising?" "No, I'm reclaiming." He didn't argue. Men like him didn't break conversations. They waited for them to fall open. The sun slipped lower, dragging shadows across the road. Buzzards circled like critics waiting for the ending. Cole knew the window was closing. The family would call in backup soon. Private security, money with badges, the kind of power that didn't knock. He had to move her, willingly or not. "June," he said, voice steady. "If I drag you into that truck, I get paid. If I don't, someone else gets called. Someone with fewer rules and a bigger gun." She met his eyes, exhaustion sharpening into defiance. You still think I'm running from a man. Are you not? I'm running from a legacy, a name, a life where I get buried alive under good girl compliments until the air runs out. That stopped him. Not the words, but the clarity. Most people run because they're afraid to lose something. June ran because she'd already lost it. He motioned to the truck. Get in. No. It's shade. It's water. It's movement. You don't have to trust me. Just don't die proving a point. She hesitated, not at his threat, but at the truth underneath it. Survival isn't surrender. It's strategy. She stepped toward the truck, then froze. A black SUV appeared at the far end of the highway. Fast, private tint, no plates. She didn't need to ask. He didn't need to confirm. That's not you, she asked. No, he said, jaw tightening. That's level 2, which meant someone else had been hired. Someone without negotiations in their job description. June looked at Cole, then at the road, then at the SUV closing distance like an unpaid debt. Still want me to walk? She asked. He opened the passenger door. I don't force packages. You choose. The SUV sped closer. She got in. Not because she trusted him, but because staying meant disappearing in a way death couldn't match. He slammed the door, rounded the hood, and threw the truck into gear. As the engine roared, the bouquet tied to her wrist shed its first petal, landing on the floorboard like a warning. Not all bindings are made of metal. Some smell like flowers. The truck ate highway like a living thing, rattling over old tar lines while heat shimmered off the hood. June kept her back pressed to the door, hands tight in her lap. Bouquet wrist tether still cutting a faint bruise into her skin. Cole drove one-handed, eyes split between the rearview mirror and the road ahead, calculating exits that didn't exist on maps. The SUV stayed behind them, far enough not to spook, close enough to claim the kill if Cole failed. You said you're paid to deliver, June said, voice steady despite everything. How much am I worth? Wrong question, he answered. She looked at him, insult rising. Wrong. It's my life on the invoice. You're asking price, he said. You should be asking cost. She didn't reply, not because she was silenced, because she was listening. Cole continued. Price is what they spend to get you back. Cost is what happens to you once they do. Her jaw tightened. And you think you know the cost? I know the look in your eyes, he said. You're not scared of dying out here. You're scared of living in there. The bouquet ribbon shifted when the truck hit a bump, the roses already wilting in the heat. She tugged at the wire, trying to break it. Not for freedom, but for dignity. It cut deeper. Without a word, Cole reached into the glove box and handed her a pocket knife. Not in threat, in permission. She cut the bouquet off her wrist. The flowers dropped to the floor, petals scattering like confetti at the wrong wedding. Don't litter my truck, he said flatly. She kicked the bouquet under the seat. Call it rent. He almost smiled. Almost. 5 miles later, he pulled off the main road and cut the engine behind an abandoned gas station. Sun-bleached sign, broken pump, dust where water once existed. The SUV didn't follow. Not yet. It was circling, waiting for weakness. Cole got out first, scanned the perimeter, then leaned against the front bumper like a man giving the world time to catch up. June stepped out, barefoot now, dress torn at the knees, no veil, no breath left for fear. Tell me something true, she said. He looked at her, surprised by the demand. Why? Because you already know the worst of me, and I don't know anything real about you. He wiped sweat from his brow. Truth, I don't bring people back for the money. I do it because I'm good at finding what doesn't want to be found. And you think that makes you useful? No, he said. It makes me trapped. That was the first moment she really saw him. Not the man, but the cage. She asked, if you had the same choice I have right now, would you run? In a heartbeat. Then run with me, she said. He didn't answer. Not because he refused, because something inside him understood the weight of a choice spoken out loud. Before he could reply, a phone vibrated in his pocket. He checked the screen once, jaw locking. They doubled the payout, he said. For returning me. For returning the version of you they own. June didn't speak. The silence between them turned into a third character. Bigger than both, older than the road, louder than the SUV, still circling like a closing argument. Finally, she said, if you let them take me back, I stop existing. Not my body, me. He looked at her. No makeup, no diamonds, just truth. You step into the truck on your own this time, he told her, and I decide for the first time in 10 years who I am loyal to. She didn't take his hand. She walked past him and got in. Not as cargo, as a choice. And that was the ending of the contract, but the beginning of the story. The truck rolled through the night until the desert bled into scrubland and the sky turned the color of cooling metal. June slept in fragments, head against the window, dress bunched beneath her, hair wild from the wind. Cole drove the way men drive when they've made a decision they haven't admitted to themselves yet. Jaw tight, eyes forward, fingers tapping the wheel to a rhythm built from unfinished lives. At dawn, he pulled into a roadside motel whose neon sign flickered between vacancy and just plain AC, like even electricity was tired. The kind of place that charged extra for silence and pretended not to notice blood or love stains. He killed the engine. "You rest," he said. "I will watch the road." She opened her eyes, voice gravel soft. "You don't trust me." "I don't trust anyone," he said. "You just happen to be here." She didn't argue. She knew the difference between insult and honesty. Inside the room, the air conditioner rattled like a trapped animal. June sat on the edge of the bed and finally looked at herself in the mirror. Sunburn across her shoulders, mascara like a bruise, ribbon marks still circling her wrist where the bouquet had been wired on. She didn't fix anything. She didn't apologize to the reflection. She just existed, and for the first time in years, that felt like defiance. Cole came in with 2 black coffees. No sugar, no cream. He set one by her and took the chair by the door, the one with a view of the parking lot and the highway, and the life that might still hunt them. "You always watch the exit?" she asked. "Only when people are trying to take something from me." "And what am I taking?" "The choice," he said. She didn't respond, but the words landed. Not as threat, as truth. Hours passed. She slept. He didn't. Men who've been hunted stop believing sleep is rest. They treat it like a drug that steals awareness. When she finally woke, he was cleaning a split in his palm, a cut she hadn't seen happen. She stood, walked over, and without asking, took the cloth from him. "You'll do it wrong," she said. He stared at her, surprised. No thank you. No softness. Just competence. She pressed the cloth, cleaned the blood, wrapped the hand tight. The gesture wasn't tender. It was surgical, efficient, familiar, like she'd done it for someone who never deserved it. "You were a nurse?" he asked. "Caretaker," she said. "Different job, same wounds." He nodded once, filed that truth away. They ate crackers from a vending machine, the kind that tasted like salt and survival. She watched the road. He watched the horizon. Silence stopped being wall and became bridge. Then the quiet broke. A car pulled in. Not the SUV. Different shape, different threat. 2 men stepped out wearing the kind of shirts that tried to look casual but were tailored to hide weapons. Corporate muscle. Hired allegiance. Cole didn't tense. He froze. There is a difference. Animals tense when afraid. Predators still when calculating. "You stay here," he said. June didn't sit. "I'm not a package." "Noted. Stay anyway." He stepped outside, meeting the men halfway. No shouting, no guns, just low voices, clipped words, posture that said violence was the easy solution, and therefore not the first one. From the window, June watched one of the men glance toward the motel room door. She saw the angle of the look, the math of it, distance, speed, reach. He wasn't assessing Cole. He was assessing her. That was when she moved. She slipped out the back, barefoot, circled around the lot, and came up behind the man, while Cole kept them talking. She grabbed a loose rock from the gravel, a smooth, heavy one, river-worn, and held it just high enough for threat, not high enough for crime. "I know what hired hands do when talking stops," she said. The man turned, startled not by danger but by her resolve. She did not shake. She did not shout. She aimed the rock at his knee instead of his skull because she didn't want to kill him, just end the chase. Cole saw the shift, saw her stepping into his line, not as shield, not as burden, but as Molly. For the first time since they met, he felt something unfamiliar. Backed up, not protected, not saved. Backed up. He dismissed the men with a sentence they understood. "Tell them I'm not returning damaged goods, I'm returning nothing." They left, not defeated, postponed. When the dust settled, he looked at June. Really looked. Not as cargo, not as payment, but as equal. "You didn't have to do that," he said. "You didn't ask me to," she replied. And that was the moment the roles cracked. She was no longer the runaway. He was no longer the retriever. They were two people outside the system now, and the world was not built to forgive that kind of pairing. They checked out before sunrise, leaving the room exactly as they found it. Unmade bed, empty cups, two lives passing through without permission to stay. Cole paid in cash. June stood by the door, hair tied back with a strip torn from her ruined dress, looking less like a bride and more like someone learning the shape of her own body again. The highway stretched ahead, pale and endless. The truck smelled like dust and silence. She didn't ask where they were going. He didn't explain. Trust wasn't spoken. It was measured in what they no longer questioned. Halfway through the drive, she rolled down the window, let the wind shred the last silk thread from her sleeve. "You ever had a bride in the truck before?" she asked. "Only twice," he said. "Both of them went back." "And you judged them for it?" "No, just learned from it." "What did you learn?" "That sometimes a cage looks like safety if you decorate it long enough." She turned her face to the road. "I won't go back." "I know," he said. "That's what makes you dangerous." The truck slowed into a small town where no one knew their names, but everyone recognized the dress. People stared, not in anger, but curiosity wrinkled with prophecy. Inside a thrift store, June traded the wedding gown for worn jeans and a faded red shirt with a high school mascot no one remembered. It fit loosely, like a life she hadn't yet grown into. Cole waited outside, leaning against the truck, arms crossed, head tipped down in thought. When she stepped out in the new clothes, he didn't compliment her. He offered something rarer. "You look like someone who belongs to herself." She blinked, almost insulted by the warmth in the words. "Don't make me a symbol. I just needed pants." They drove again. Miles later, the sky shifted, purple and bruised, storm visible on the horizon. Cole pulled into a diner built from old chrome and ghosts of better decades. Inside, a teenage waiter with a cracked name tag took their order without recognizing them from missing posters already circulating online. June devoured fries like a woman who hadn't tasted salt without consequence in months. Cole didn't eat. He watched the window, caught the shape of a familiar SUV passing slow on the highway like a shark testing the coastline. "They're sweeping grids," he said. "Like a search party." "No, search parties hope you're safe. These hope you're quiet." The waiter returned with the check. June grabbed it first. "You don't owe me anything," Cole said. "I know," she answered, "but I owe myself proof I can pay for my own survival." She left cash on the table. Exact amount, no tip. Not cruelty, calculation. Tips meant traceable cards. As they walked out, thunder rolled behind the mountains, the kind that sounded like a verdict forming. Cole opened the truck door. June paused. "You still planning to deliver me?" she asked. He didn't hesitate. "No." "Then what are you doing?" "Finishing a job they didn't pay me for." "And what's the job now?" "Making sure you get to choose the life that ruins you." She stared at him, and for the first time since she fled the altar, her face softened, not with romance but recognition. "You think a life has to ruin you?" "All lives do," he said. "The right one ruins you honestly." Before she could respond, headlights swept across the diner lot. Slow, searching, predatory. SUV, same tint, same method. Cole spoke before she asked. "Get behind the truck. If they step out shooting, you run. I hold." June didn't move. She picked up the loose river rock from the truck floor, the same one she used against the hired men at the motel. She held it like truth in her palm, heavy, undeniable. "You don't get to be the only one who holds," she said. He almost smiled, a real one this time. Not because he found it funny, because he finally wasn't alone in the fight. The SUV rolled closer. Rain began, and for the first time in 2 days, they were not running in separate directions. They were standing, side by side, not lovers, not fugitives, a team. The rain came hard enough to blur the world into streaks of silver. The SUV idled across the lot, headlights fixed on them, like a question neither of them planned to answer. Cole stepped forward first, shoulders squared, body angled not in challenge but in warning. June stayed at his side, the river stone still in her hand, water slipping down her wrist like a pulse. The rear window of the SUV slid down. A man in a clean suit leaned out, umbrella balanced above the opening. His voice was smooth, the kind used by people who've never had to repeat themselves. "Mr. Bennett, the family thanks you for your cooperation up to this point." Cole didn't move. You were paid for retrieval, not negotiation, the man continued. You deliver the bride, you get your full amount. Double was offered as courtesy. Refusal is not an acceptable outcome. June stepped forward, chin lifted. You want me? Ask me. The man looked at her like she was sound instead of substance. You stopped being part of the conversation the moment you ran. She didn't blink. Then, your mistake was believing I'd stay silent once I started breathing again. The man ignored her. Mr. Bennett, last time I'll ask. Cargo, back, now. That was it. The moment the world split. Cole reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out the folded contract, creased and waterlogged. He didn't tear it. He didn't throw it. He held it up between two fingers, rain sliding down it like the paper itself was already dissolving. I'm not delivering her, he said. Job's over. The man's tone sharpened. Then so is your life as you know it. Cole dropped the contract onto the wet pavement. The rain flattened it. The ink bled. The words disappeared. That life was already gone, he answered. The SUV door opened. Not for conversation, for force. Two men stepped out, not in suits now, but in black jackets built for movement. No guns drawn, not yet. They assumed fear would do the disarming. Cole didn't retreat. He turned slightly toward June, not shielding her, not dismissing her, including her. You run, we lose, he said quietly. She nodded. Then we don't run. The first man lunged. Cole moved fast, not brutish, trained. Every motion a memory from a life he never speaks about. He hit the man once, clean and centered, dropping him to one knee. The second swung, but June was already moving, stone in hand, sharp and controlled. She didn't aim for the head. She smashed the forearm, bone-meeting rock with a crack that echoed louder than thunder. The man fell back, not from pain, but from surprise, because she fought down like someone who had been unarmed her whole life and was done with it. The SUV engine revved. The driver threw it in reverse, not retreating, resetting for impact. Cole grabbed June's wrist. Move! They sprinted toward the truck, rain slashing sideways. Tires screeched. The SUV swerved, grazing the diner sign, sparks flying as metal kissed rusted steel. Cole shoved June inside, slammed the door, jumped into the driver's seat, and the engine roared alive. Seatbelt, he said. She didn't argue. They tore back onto the highway, water spraying behind them like a stormed-out wake. The SUV followed, faster now, not playing chess, playing demolition. Still think I'm just cargo? June asked, breath sharp but steady. No, Cole said. Now you're collateral. She looked at him. And you? He shifted gears, voice low. Now I'm the liability they can't afford to leave breathing. The SUV closed the gap. They had crossed the line, not fugitives, not hired and hunted, declared enemies of the life that used to own them. The world wouldn't take that quietly, but neither would they. The highway split in 2 miles, left toward the interstate, right toward a service road barely wide enough for a bicycle, let alone a truck, and the life tied to it. Cole didn't hesitate. He took the road no one else would choose, the kind that was dirt before rain turned it to clay, the kind that swallowed tires and punished certainty. The SUV followed, but not gracefully. Its engine was power. Theirs was intention. June braced herself against the dash as the truck jolted through ruts. Is this a plan? No, Cole said. It's a decision. What's the difference? A plan you can blame if it fails. A decision is yours, even when it ruins you. She almost smiled. Almost. Rain thinned. Mud thickened. The SUV slowed just long enough for distance to build, and in that thinned-out breath of quiet, June finally spoke the sentence she'd been swallowing since the diner. Who hired you? Not just the family. Who wrote your contract? Cole didn't answer at first. The wipers squealed across the glass, the road narrowed, and truth had nowhere left to hide. Her father, he said. Not the groom, not the church. The man who raised you. June sat back like the truck had hit her instead of the ground. He didn't just want you returned, Cole continued. He wanted you silenced, signed, owned. June stared at the windshield, but she wasn't seeing rain anymore. She was seeing years, the kind made of applause you never asked for and rules you never wrote. My father paid you to take away my choice, she said. No, Cole corrected. He paid me to erase it. And now? Now he'll pay someone else to finish the job. She didn't cry. June had run out of tears long before she ran out of road. What made you change sides? she asked. You did, he said. You're the first job who didn't care if she survived, only if she stayed herself. They hit a stretch of hard earth. The truck steadied. The SUV didn't. It fishtailed, slid, dropped back, lost traction, and vanished behind a curtain of dust and rain. For now, silence returned. Not the safe kind, the dangerous kind, the kind where people finally say what ruins or repairs them. You lost your money, June said quietly. I lost it the second you stepped into the truck on your own, he replied. So, what are you now? Unemployed, he said, but free. She studied him. Rain flickered on his jawline. Hands steady on the wheel. A man who had never belonged to himself until this exact highway, this exact morning, this exact woman refusing to be owned. You could still walk away, she said. I don't need saving. I know, he said. That's why I'm staying. That was the first moment she believed him. The road ended at an abandoned way station. Old red brick. Roof half collapsed. Dust settled on a sign that once measured cargo, but now measured ghosts. Cole parked behind the structure, out of sight from the highway. They sat in the idling quiet. The storm passed. The air smelled like soaked earth and discarded lives. June reached into her pocket and pulled out the ribbon from the bouquet. Now frayed, damp, no longer romantic, just a reminder of the price of pretending. She tied it around the gear shift. What's that supposed to mean? Cole asked. It means I'm not running alone anymore. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. Because in the language of people who have been hunted, silence is yes. A crow landed on a rusted railing, shook off the rain, and watched them like witness or omen, maybe both. Then Cole spoke the line that sealed the story into its second life. From this point on, anyone coming for you has to go through me first. June didn't thank him. She just said, then let's give them a reason to regret that. And with that, the contract was dead. The debt was born. The story stopped being escape and became defiance. They stayed in the abandoned way station long enough for the mud to dry on the truck tires and the silence to grow teeth. By sunrise, the world outside had already rewritten the story without their permission. June wasn't missing anymore. She was abducted. Cole wasn't a hired retriever. He was now armed and dangerous. Headlines don't wait for truth. They hunt first. Verify never. Cole found the first proof when he turned on a stolen radio inside the brick station. Static, then voices. Sharp, official, public. Authorities say the runaway bride may be under duress. The suspect, Cole Bennett, has a history of violence and paramilitary training. Family pleads for her safe return and asks the public to pray for her recovery. June didn't flinch. She'd been spoken about her whole life. Being spoken over was just a louder version of the same crime. What did you expect? She said. They lost control, so they rewrite the rules. Cole stood near the shattered window, jaw tense. They didn't just flip the story. They weaponized it. They made you fragile and me a monster. Easy math. June pulled the bouquet ribbon off the gear shift and looked at it, not as memory but as evidence. The world believes the first version of any story, especially if a man in a suit tells it on camera. He turned to her. They'll start hunting the truck first, then your name, then your history. They'll drag every mistake I ever made into the light, she said. Then we don't let them be the ones holding the light. That was the moment the decision formed. Not escape, not surrender. Something harder. Confrontation. They drove into the next town before noon. Small, quiet, patriotic in the way cities get when they believe the world beyond the county line is immoral. A courthouse stood in the center like a sermon carved in limestone. In the square, a reporter filmed a segment beside a photo of June. Wedding day radiant, edited, obedient. Under it, the caption, "Bride in crisis, family begs for safe return." She stared at the poster. "That isn't me," she said. "No," Cole replied. "That's who they need you to be so they can rescue the version of you they own." A patrol car pulled into the square. Not police searching, police staging. A press conference was being assembled. Microphones, camouflage sympathy, reputation theater. June exhaled. "This is where they'll announce the warrant, right?" "Yeah," Cole said, "and you'll be treated like evidence, not a person." She stepped forward. "Then we interrupt the show." He grabbed her wrist, not to stop her, but to make sure she understood the cost. "If you speak now, you can't go back. Not to the life, not to the name, not to the version of peace they offered you." She pulled her wrist free. not in anger, but in certainty. I already burned the exit. I'm just walking through the smoke. The press conference began. Her father took the podium first. Silver hair, clean suit, perfect grief. A man mourning the inconvenience of defiance, not the loss of a daughter. "My child is unwell," he said. "She is being manipulated by a dangerous man. We only want her home, safe, helped, healed." June stepped into view before the reporters even realized she wasn't part of the plan. Murmurs spread, lenses turned, microphones swung like targeting systems. Her father froze mid-sentence. June didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "You don't get to decide what sanity looks like just because you're louder." Gasps. Cameras zoomed. She continued. "I wasn't abducted. I left. Not from a man. From a life built on silence dressed as love." Her father reached for her arm. Cole was already between them. No weapon drawn, no threat issued. Just one man refusing to step aside for money wearing a face. The deputies moved in, unsure who to grab first. And in that exact second, June chose her first public truth. "You don't need to rescue me, you need to release me." The square turned electric, not safe, not won, but changed. The deputies hesitated, not because they believed her, but because crowds don't like watching women in plain clothes being dragged away by force. Optics. That was her shield. Not justice. Optics. Her father adjusted his tie, face paling beneath the practiced sorrow. "June, sweetheart, this isn't you. You're confused. You're overwhelmed. You've always needed guidance." "No," she said, calm as rainfall after smoke. "I've always needed oxygen." The reporters smelled blood. Not literal. Narrative. Questions fired. "Are you saying you left willingly? Is this romance or coercion? Did he abduct you? Are you mentally engaged or manipulated? Are you pregnant?" The last question landed like a slap. Not because it was true, because the world always assumes a woman must have a physical excuse to defy a man. June didn't respond with fury. She responded with precision. "I'm not carrying a child," she said. "I'm carrying a decision, one no one gets to abort on my behalf." A ripple of shock, not applause. Truth doesn't get applause in real time, only silence and rewiring. Cole stood beside her, not touching, not claiming, merely letting the world see that standing with someone is louder than standing over them. The sheriff finally stepped forward, hat in hand, voice pitched for cameras. "Miss Marlowe, we're here to ensure your safety. If you want to leave with your father, we'll escort you immediately. If you feel threatened by this man, we'll detain him." It was the last attempt at order. June didn't hesitate. "I am not threatened. I am not abducted. And nobody speaks for me anymore." The sheriff hesitated. 1 second too long. Her father snapped his fingers. A second SUV rolled in, sleek, black, no decals. Private force, not public law. Real power doesn't use badges. It hires them. The doors swung open. 4 men stepped out with the stillness of people who had already signed the waiver for violence. Cole tensed, not in fear, in calculation. He leaned slightly toward June, voice low. "This is the part where they stop pretending." She nodded. "Then this is the part where I stop running." One of the men reached for her arm. June didn't pull back. She turned her wrist and pressed the bouquet ribbon into his palm. "Here," she said. "That's the last thing you ever tied to me." The man looked confused just long enough for Cole to act. No fists, no showboating, just one sharp movement that disarmed the grab without escalating the scene. Reporters gasped. Phones rose. Clips began. Her father lost the room, not morally but publicly. "You are humiliating yourself," he hissed. "I lived humiliated," June replied. "Now I'm just loud." That was the end. Not of danger, of permission. There was no safe way out now, not legally, not socially, not narratively. So Cole did the only thing a man with no more exits can do. He exposed the truth. "You hired me," he said loudly, eyes sweeping the press. "Not to save her. To retrieve property you think you still own." Cameras snapped. Faces shifted. A new scent filled the air. Doubt. Her father stepped back, not defeated, just revealed. And powerful men are never more dangerous than when they're exposed but not yet finished. "You just made yourself a criminal," he said to Cole. Cole didn't blink. "Then I'll choose my crime. And my side." June looked at him. Really looked. Not with gratitude. With recognition. 2 people fully burned, standing in their own ash without apology. The deputies finally moved in, not to arrest her, to break up the scene before the truth infected more bystanders. The crowd parted, not for law, for inevitability. June and Cole walked out side by side, not escorted, not claimed, not owned, but seen. Seen clearly enough that the world would now have to pick a side. By the time they reached the truck, June's father was already rewriting the narrative for the next broadcast. By the time they started the engine, hashtags were being born. By the time they hit the road, the war had changed shape. It was no longer June versus a wedding. It was June versus the version of herself the world had already decided was acceptable, and she had just declared that version dead. They didn't run. They relocated their existence. No headlines, no last stand, no cinematic chase, just a quiet exit through a side road the world never cared enough to pave. Cole sold the truck for cash to a farmer who never asked for paperwork. June cut her hair with kitchen scissors in a gas station restroom, watching pieces of her old life fall into a sink with no drain cover. They didn't change names. They just stopped answering to the old versions of them. They settled in a town small enough that the grocery store still wrote prices by hand, and the post office smelled like pencil shavings and dry envelopes. No one recognized them. Or if they did, they pretended not to. Some places believe privacy is a religion. Cole found work first. Not as a bodyguard, not as a tracker, not as someone men hired to clean their mistakes. He repaired fences, fixed generators, sharpened tools. Hands that used to deliver people back to cages now repaired hinges that opened freely. The work left splinters. He liked that. Pain you earn is different from pain assigned. June claimed a table in the back corner of the town's only library, a converted church whose stained glass windows were now decorated with donations, not saints. She started organizing worn-out books, replacing missing pages by hand, writing children's names inside covers, as if ownership might help them love words longer. She didn't teach yet. She observed. People who have been spoken over need time before they speak again. Sometimes they crossed paths only in the evening, on the porch of the small house they rented at the edge of town. No declarations, no forced intimacy, just 2 people who shared silence like a blanket. One night, Cole placed a smooth river stone on the porch railing, the same stone she once held as a weapon. "For the record," he said, "I didn't stay because I was noble." "I didn't assume you were," she replied. "I stayed because I was tired of being useful and wanted to be human." She nodded. "Then it was a fair trade. I stopped being valuable and started being alive." The stone stayed on the railing. Neither of them moved it. Some objects are not souvenirs. They are graves for versions of us that needed to die. Months passed. The world did what the world always does. Forgot loudly, remembered selectively. Her father's interview stopped trending. Cole's name drifted into conspiracy forums where the truth always blooms too late. June received one letter from a cousin, unsigned, no return address. It said only this: "You did not embarrass us. You exposed us. Thank you." She saved it in a book with no title on the spine. Winter came, not cruel, honest. Snow fell in slow flakes, the kind that erased tracks instead of trapping feet. June watched neighborhood children build crooked snowmen outside the library and realized something no headline had ever given her. She wasn't a runaway anymore. She was a person with a place. One afternoon, a woman in her 60s approached her table, sliding a folder across the wood. "I heard you used to teach," the woman said. "This town's kids could use someone who talks about more than history dates and spelling lists." June didn't accept immediately. Freedom had taught her caution, not fear. But that night she told Cole, "I think I'm ready to speak again. Not loud, just clearly." He nodded. "Then they'll hear you." Not applause, just alignment. A week later, the kids gathered in a one-room auditorium that still smelled faintly of chalk and old floor polish. June held no lesson plan. She held the truth she had earned the hard way. Your voice matters most on the day they try to take it. No one clapped. They didn't need to. Children understand truth by temperature, not grammar. That night, Cole brought home a box of tools someone paid him with instead of money. Rusted, worn, but fixable. He set them on the table between them. A hammer, a wrench, a chisel, and one pair of work gloves too small for his hands. "They're yours," he said. "I don't build," she answered. "You do?" he said. "Just not with wood." And in the quiet that followed, They realized something neither of them had ever been allowed to want. Not safety, not romance, not forgiveness. A life. Spring erased the last snow in slow, patient sweeps. Grass pushed through the thawed earth like a quiet rebellion. The town began to know them, not as fugitives, not as story, but as people who stayed. That is the highest form of acceptance in any place that has seen more departures than arrivals. June's class grew, not because she advertised, because children invite what makes sense before adults do. She taught them how to read poems out loud without apologizing for their voice. She taught them how to ask questions no one else bothered to answer. She taught them that silence is not character, it's captivity. One boy, shy, shoulders always folded inward, wrote a line in his notebook she never corrected. "Some of us aren't broken, we're just done being bent." She left it exactly as he wrote it. Not every truth needs polishing. Cole started rebuilding the community tool shed behind the library, replacing rotted beams with discarded lumber, welding hinges from scrap metal, teaching teenagers how to use a drill without fear. The work was slow. The work stayed. He did not fix problems for them. He taught them how to fix things themselves. Fences, bicycles, broken chairs, even old habits. Sometimes kids would ask what he used to do before. He would answer the same way every time. "I found people who were lost." "Did you save them?" "No," he'd say. "I delivered them back to what hurt them. I don't do that anymore." They nodded like they understood. Maybe they did. The bouquet ribbon resurfaced one morning, tucked inside June's coat pocket. She had forgotten she kept it. It no longer smelled like flowers, only fabric and history. She placed it on the porch beside the river stone. The wind didn't take it. Some symbols know when they still have a last meaning left. That night she and Cole sat outside, sharing the kind of quiet earned, not given, not romantic tension, not cinematic intimacy, just two lives unarmored in the same direction. "You ever miss who you were before?" she asked. "No," he said. "I miss who I could have been sooner." She nodded. "Me too." He glanced at her, not to study, just to confirm she was still real in the dim porch light. "You're different now." "I'm the same," she said. "I just finally grew skin that fits." He picked up the stone, rolled it once in his hand, and set it back down. "I didn't know people could start twice." "They don't," she said. "They just stop pretending they never wanted to. They didn't kiss, they didn't touch, they didn't need to. What they had wasn't a scene. It was a state of being." Weeks later, a newspaper finally printed the last story about them. Not on the front page, not even in the center section. A small column in a rural insert. "Former missing bride resettles quietly, declines to comment." That was the victory. Not that they stopped talking about her, but that she no longer needed to respond. Summer arrived, carrying late sunsets and kids who stayed outside too long. On the last day of class before break, June asked her students to write one sentence they wanted to remember when they were older. She didn't grade them. She collected them in a shoebox and sealed it shut. One student asked, "Will we ever open it?" June smiled. "Only if you come back someday and still want the truth inside it." The boy with the line about being bent raised his hand. "Will we still know you?" "Maybe," she said. "Or maybe you'll just know yourself better, and that'll be enough." When the children left, she sat on the empty floor, box in her lap, and felt something like closure, but not the kind that locks, the kind that breathes. That evening, Cole came home with grease on his hands and 3 peaches in a paper sack. They ate them on the back steps, juice dripping, summer heavy on their shoulders. "We did it," he said. "No," she replied. "We're doing it." And that was the truest ending possible. Not escape, not spotlight, not fairy tale. A life unowned. No one built a movie out of what came next. No dramatic soundtrack, no wedding aisle reclaimed, no speech about destiny. Just days that looked ordinary from the outside and felt earned from the inside. That is what freedom actually sounds like. Unremarkable to the world, unforgettable to the one who finally has it. June never went back to the name that expected her to kneel. She kept the first name, rewrote the rest, and let the silence after it belong to her. She taught children how to read aloud without shrinking. She taught adults how to listen without interrupting. Sometimes she taught no one at all, and that was still a lesson. Cole never returned to the work that turned people into assignments. He fixed what was breakable and left what deserved to fall apart. The town stopped calling him dangerous the moment they needed something repaired. Sometimes they paid him in fruit, sometimes in thanks, sometimes in nothing. He took all three the same way. The ribbon and the stone stayed on the porch rail, not as romance, not as memory, as markers. One for what tied her down, one for what she used to break free. Rain softened them, sun bleached them, time did the rest. Some nights they talked, some nights they didn't. Love didn't arrive like lightning. It settled like weather, steady, unforced, staying whether or not the sky looked cinematic. And if anyone ever asked who saved who, there was no answer, because the truth wasn't rescue, it was recognition. Two people who stopped belonging to the world the moment they decided to belong to themselves. The story didn't end in triumph. It ended in ownership, of voice, of choice, of life. And for the first time, that was enough.